welcome to the YouTube live show. Thank you, everyone.
I'm just watching TikToks on what's going on in Newfoundland right now with all the snow.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot of snow.
Like, holy cow.
Up to this high.
We thought we had an issue here in Victoria over the past week with some of the snow that we had.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen what's going on in Newfoundland right now? Didn't your partner Candace, her new nickname, by the way, is Jukebox.
Jeez.
Jukebox, because she knows everything when it comes to music, but unbelievable to see what's... Anyways, so what do we got going on? Hey, I'm Darren.
I'm Brandon, and Candace is in the back monitoring the comments. Thank you, everyone. And she's also in our ear talking to us.
Yes, she is.
On anything that happens here on the show.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we're going to go straight into some updates.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Some updates. On our blog, we have a new article. Candace has written up a wonderful summary of before the year started. So in 2019, we did our youth advisory team.
Yes.
Where basically we sat down with about, what, 10-ish young individuals?
10 young teens.
Who basically shared with us their experiences online, and we wrote about it to kind of guide what it is that we do.
Yeah, you know, as a company, we truly believe that teens and preteens need to play a significant role when it comes to talking about these topics, right? It shouldn't be very parent-centric, right? Like, we find that a lot of people, my age, boomers, love to talk about it from their perspective, and we think that teens need to play a significant role, right? And so that's what this team was all about, because it helps us to understand what's going on in their world. And boy, oh boy, as it is every year when we do this, extremely enlightening, right? And I want to give a big shout out to the entire team that was there to help us answer some. And Candace, she just did a really good article on kind of the synopsis of what we talked about. So for parents, adults, caregivers, others, even teens who want to know more, please check out this blog, which is available on our website,
thewhitehider.ca.
Thewhitehider.ca.
Congratulations, Video Juniper, for hitting 114 subscribers and a video gain to 100 to 700 views.
Jupiter.
Fantastic. Congratulations. Hopefully we'll hit videos that high in views soon.
Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah. We're getting there. What else was in the updates?
There was a lot of snow this week.
There was. We had quite a few programs scheduled, but unfortunately for me, I had to cancel two, because one was down in Washington State. The other one was up island, but you were able to make it, right?
I was able to make it to a couple schools in Vancouver, Confederation Park and Gilmore. So shout out to all of you who are from there. Although Gilmore, I had to stay an extra night because the school was closed because of snow.
But they worked it out, right?
Yeah, we worked it out.
Which was really kind of cool.
So that was big. I had a lot of fun there, and a lot of the students had a lot of fun in the snow.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So had a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a really good time.
So what else we got going?
Let's talk about some news stories.
In the news.
And first thing I want to quickly talk about, I came across this really interesting quote from an article in The Week, and it's from an author, Bonnie Christensen, and basically, this is a quote from an article talking about how law enforcement should or should not have access into encryption or backdoors into computers.
So just before we get into that, we had another live comment. Tip vids. I'm being a mod on a Discord server, and someone had to be banned, and they used NordVPN to evade the ban. So right? Can happen, right? Can happen, but at least you're moderating it, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And trying your best, right? Which is really cool. But back to this topic here. What are your thoughts on this one? You know,
well, this quote, what it says is, should members of law enforcement be able to have a master key into every door in the world?
Okay, so I'm a little biased, right? Because I was a cop for 30 years.
Yeah.
I do believe that law enforcement should have the ability to get into these, but only with a court order.
Makes sense.
Right? Like, if you're going to allow law enforcement to have access, it's kind of like bank accounts, right? Like, I can't just walk in without a warrant as a police officer to get information on a bank account. I need a warrant to do that. I can't enter somebody's home to do a search unless in exigent circumstances, unless I have a search warrant.
Yeah.
I think this should be no different. So do I think that law enforcement should have the ability to get into these encrypted sites? Yes, because if only by way of warrant though, right? So that you have an external third party, a judiciary, a judge, make that decision based upon all the evidence. Because not to do that, in my opinion, will only allow the criminal element to thrive in these platforms without being checked.
Yeah, but I mean, what's stopping a criminal element from creating their own server in a country like Malta, which is not bound, and then law enforcement can't access anyways?
Nothing. But the thing is we know a lot of these people are using platforms like Facebook, Snapchat, you know, all these platforms to do these things that are available to anybody. And these companies are making huge money out of that. So as a result of that, I do believe that law enforcement should have the ability to access these via a backdoor key, whatever that's going to be, but only by way of a warrant. Now, the argument is going to be, but once you create a backdoor, that gives the ability for hackers to hack into that backdoor. I agree with that, but I think there could be a technology fix to help make that extremely difficult to do, right? So, but again, I just think that, the other thing too is, you know, think about child porn. Right? Like if we do not allow law enforcement the ability to access these sites where this stuff is being trafficked, then how are we going to keep these individuals in check? Like we won't be able, they'll be able to do whatever it is they want. And see, I also think that some of the reasons why these companies don't want to offer a key and keep the encryption because they have deniability. They can say, well, we had no idea this was going on because it's fully encrypted, so we have no idea.
Yeah, so they don't get sued, so it's for their own bottom line.
I know, but again, where's the moral compass surrounding this, right? Like I always come down to a moral compass, but I do believe.
But do you want a company like Facebook or all these big companies to know all your personal data? Isn't it better for a company to know nothing about you?
Yeah, but you're making that decision as soon as you write up for the terms of service. The terms of services are quite clear, which people never read. But when you go into a social platform like Facebook, Instagram, whatever they are nowadays, you have to understand that everything you do in there is public, it's permanent, it's searchable, exploitable, copyable, shareable, and it's always for sale, right? Like, you have to understand that fact. So as a result of that, again, I do believe that in these encrypted sites are into phones devices like the iPhone and some of the other ones now, because I understand Android is moving the same way. I do think that there should be ability for law enforcement to get into those things, but only by way of judicial warrant.
How's it different from me having a paper copy book and writing it in an encrypted cipher in the book?
Yeah, but in order for me to then, as law enforcement, I then need the decryption in order to do that.
But the decryption's in my head and it's a cipher. And
yeah,
I've ciphered it.
Yeah, but if you're sending it to somebody else, they need to have that code, the cipher code, to uncipher it, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I think
if I write secrets in a book in code,
right,
you could by law take the book,
right? But here's what happens. If that happens in a book and you're put on the stand in front of a judge, and the judge then says, okay, you now need to decipher that for the court, and you fail to do that, you're going to jail until such time. But what if
there's a way? And I've seen, but let's say the decipher key changes,
right,
or after a certain number of time it disappears, and now you as a person literally do not have the ability to decipher it.
I know. There's all kinds of. That's an interesting take on it, right?
Yeah.
For sure. But I do think at this point in time, given the platforms and the technology, especially on things like iPhones and computers, is that if companies are supplying this encryption to keep things encrypted and secret, that there should be an ability for law enforcement to have access to that information by way of a judicial order. I mean, because that's the only thing that we can do to, I mean, a good example is in some of the major shootings that have gone down in the United States right now, the one where the individual was a terrorist and he had this phone and cops couldn't get into it, right? But the evidence that they'll need is in that phone, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, if law enforcement didn't, bugger it up the first time and exploit that ability,
right,
we wouldn't be in this situation.
And it's constantly becoming a cat and mouse game,
yes,
right? Like there are companies out there, I'm not going to mention to them, that are keeping up with the encryption that Apple is. It's constantly a cat and mouse game. So, but again, I do, and I'm a little jaded, right? Because I come from 30 years of law enforcement. But I think in order to keep some of these bad guys in check, because we know that the bad guys, like I dealt with a group that were using encryption on some of the text messaging platforms that are available to everybody in order to deploy their ware, to sell their dope, right? So again, I think that we in law enforcement need the ability to get in there. So, but by way of warrant, not without warrant. I mean, that's just ridiculous, right? Like we should have a judicial oversight.
Next topic.
That was a good topic.
Yeah, it was good. Let's talk about robots being used in the hiring process. So, a couple interesting articles coming out in the next one as well we're going to talk about. Basically, an article from CNN Business talking about how companies are using sort of video interview processes.
Yes.
But on the other side, there's an AI system that's monitoring and analyzing the video interview to make evaluations on the potential job applicant.
And from what I read, I mean, I'm the one who brought this up. I think from what I read, it appears that the AI is using algorithms basically looking at body language, right? And
Yeah, that's what it appears to be.
Right, and so, I mean, didn't you actually said that there was some research out there showing us that this can be very jaded, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's also like, what data does this provide? So interesting, so a comment in the article is talking about how this is more so being used at lower end jobs, where if someone has a huge resume of all this experience, okay, fine, whatever, you have that on you. But if two people who have no experience, how do you as an organization determine who gets the job if both people are equal and they have no experience? So potentially, this is a system being used to pick the best candidate. But then the question is the data being collected even relevant? Because is it relevant? Like it would only give you visual social cues, but is that relevant to the job itself?
Yeah, it appears that what they're doing is they're using it as a part of the gating process, right?
Yeah.
Where they have like hundreds of people applying and they're trying to narrow it down to a smaller group. But I do think that at this point in time, you could be gating out people that are very qualified for the position based upon an algorithm that can be extremely biased.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes into our next kind of topic here, talking about how there's a bunch of digital rights groups and student groups from colleges and universities who are essentially banding together to basically force colleges to stop using facial recognition on college campuses.
Totally agree with this. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting because this is a college campus.
Yep.
So it's an institution based on academics and research.
Yep.
So what these students and digital rights advocates are doing is basically showing the research, saying, you know what, research shows AI can be gender biased.
Yep.
Can be racial biased.
Yep.
And it's not 100% accurate.
Yep.
So it's using research to go, hey, research people who are an institution based on research, but research is not solid yet on using AI as an effective tool.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
I mean, this whole facial recognition thing is quite the stir. I don't know if it's all over the news this week how a company in Australia, who one of the owners is on the board for Facebook, has now screen captured or screen scraped over 3 billion pictures off of all social media platforms. And in some of them, they're quite clear that people aren't allowed to screen scrape and use that information, but this company does. And they've created this company now where they basically sell their ability to search pictures to only law enforcement at this point in time, right? Like, again, I have an issue with that. Although ex-law enforcement, I can kind of see the benefits of that. It's kind of creepy when you think about it, right? It really is. And, you know, I don't think facial recognition, what about false positives as well, right? So I do think from a law enforcement standpoint, if they're using that business right now, I think I don't think they're going to depend upon to say, yeah, that's a person, but it could become a starting point, right?
Could be.
But again, kind of creepy to know what's going on. But it absolutely astounds me that people don't get the fact that social media has always been public and open and searchable. So should it really surprise us that there are companies out there that are screen scraping that data and then using it to their financial advantage? Like, it shouldn't surprise us that this is happening. Yeah. But now the question is, should it be happening, right? What are the checks?
Well, that's what this organization and students are talking about. Yeah. No, it shouldn't be happening. And the article makes a couple references, a couple cities and states in the U.S. that have banned AI facial recognition in the city for various reasons, because there's a bunch of issues with it.
And, I mean, although we may disagree with it in North America or NATO companies, what about in countries, i.e. like Russia, where they have social media platforms, or China, that are using facial recognition all the time? Like, did you see on the Twitter feeds there in airports now, you just walk up and they do a facial scan using facial recognition and go, hey, Darren, how you doing? Here's your flight number. I mean, that, to me, becomes very scary when all of a sudden it is owned by state, right? And the state is now collecting that data and using it, right? Big drug.
Tipids. Well, if there's a crime, a murder, can police ask people to unlock their phone using their fingerprint?
There's been a couple of cases in the United States that I'm very well aware of that's exactly what they did, right?
Yeah.
Where they got a warrant for the fingerprint in order to put the fingerprint on the fingerprint reader to get into the device, right? There's been a couple of cases on that. I don't know if that has been so in Canada, but here's the story. I was sleeping in my sleepy chair. He knows what my sleepy chair is, eh? It's a big comfy rocker in front of the TV that I have. And I had my phone with me, and Beth, your mom, had to get into my phone, right? And she didn't have my passcode. So as I was sleeping, she actually raised my thumb and put my thumb on the thumbprint reader and was able to get into the phone, right? Mm-hmm. We've also found, I know a number of cases in Canada, the United States now, if all of a sudden you come across no idea, but they have a phone with them, and that phone has a thumbprint reader where you can just lift the thumb of the deceased on the thumb, and now now they're able to identify who the person is. So, I mean, kind of interesting.
Yep.
But specifically to tip vids, yeah, I know of a couple of cases, specifically in the United States, not so much here in Canada, I can't recall one here in Canada, but definitely in the United States where they've gotten a warrant to do exactly that.
Yeah.
Good question. Good question.
So there's a way. So, and I mean, from a security standpoint, that's why it's interesting when you're looking at big companies who have people who travel throughout the world. Many big companies have policies on their corporate phones is you're not allowed to use Face ID or fingerprint ID because there is a risk there.
And a lot of times they don't even allow you to take your corporate phone with you to the other country. You got to take a throwaway phone with you, right? Again, because depending upon, remember that big controversy during the last Olympics in China? Where as soon as people were landing in China with their personal phones, they were immediately being downloaded with malware onto their phones by just landing in China and stuff, right? So, I mean, depending upon who the corporation is or where you're traveling, even into places like the United States, you're not allowed to take your corporate phone down there, right? You have to take basically a throwaway phone.
Yeah.
Right? What else we got going?
Speaking of pictures and such, interesting article came out this week from CTV talking about how selfies could impact travel insurance coverage, according to a couple surveys that were done. So this is a very interesting one. So basically, based on what you post on social media, could negatively affect your insurance rates depending on what it is that you post.
I mean, a good example of this, there was a video that we just watched on this very issue where people were doing some paragliding behind, and as a result of that, they crashed into the side of a condominium, were extremely, significant injuries, and their health insurance company said, no, we're not going to cover you because you engaged in a dangerous act, which is in violation of this policy that we gave you. So they lost their coverage, right? Another good example of this is that there are some insurance companies, both in Canada and the United States now, that if you're going away on vacation and you're advertising that fact in your social media that you're not at home for an extended period of time, and then you get broken into, you can lose your coverage. Right?
Interesting quote from the article saying, people who were surveyed didn't realize that taking part in risky activities or being intoxicated, they're on vacation, could void their insurance policy if they get injured.
I know, it becomes a reverse onus, right? It's called a reverse onus on the person who got the insurance. I mean, another really good example of this is because I was a diver, right? You were a diver as well, right? We got our tickets together. Well, on the insurance policy that we had, our original health insurance policy, it clearly stated that if I was injured during a diving accident, there was no coverage. I had no idea. My fault, because I didn't read the coverage, right? I didn't read that fine print. But it is amazing. I mean, you found another one too where we had travel insurance going in. Remember that? We had travel insurance going into the United States for medical issues, right? So because we do a lot of teaching down in the US, and we wanted to make sure that we had coverage because of the cost of health down there if you got into a hospital. And we had travel insurance, at least that's what we thought. But then you looked deeper into it, and what did you find?
I read the fine print, and it said if you're traveling for work, the onus, your personal insurance does not cover you, and instead it would be the onus of your organization, your company.
So as a result of that, we went, holy moly, again, our fault, never read it like you do. That's one of the good things about you. You always read things. Like Mom says, people don't read. Well, you read, right? And so as a result of that, we went with another insurance carrier to make sure that when we were down there on business, we got covered. But again, these are issues, because when you think about the payouts that some of these insurance companies have, if they can find ways to help minimize that payout by showing blame on your part or negligence on your part, then that's what they're going to do. So again, I think it's really important for those who do a lot of traveling to make sure that you read your policies specifically to insurance and health and all that kind of stuff before you travel anywhere, and be aware of the fact that whatever you're posting online can be used against you. And I've seen this in several civil cases now where people have used evidence that people posted in their social media against them.
And if it gets to court and it's a private account, you could be required to provide what was privatized.
Yeah, here in Canada.
Yeah.
Right, here in Canada. Again, we can't speak about the US, but I'm pretty sure it's probably pretty similar in the US.
If it's relevant to the case,
Yes.
the court can force you to.
Yes,
like if
they
it's a
can.
private account.
They can.
Let's see the picture.
Yeah, and we've seen that several times now in ICBC claims, right? Car claims where people say, I was in a car accident, I can't walk, I'm on crutches, and then, the opposing side, ICBC, says, oh, really? Well, what about this vacation pictures that you post online where you're water skiing? Hello, right? So these are things to be aware of.
Yeah.
What else we got? This is an interesting one, actually.
Floor girl, 14, installs a video camera to prove alleged abuse from within the house. Interesting case, using a hidden camera to prove harm.
The teen was using a private camera.
Yeah, the teen was.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing because a lot of times, I heard this from teens all the time in my policing career. People never believe us. They always believe the adults, but they never believe us. And I bet you that's what was going on in this case, right?
Most likely.
So as a result of that, this teen decided to set up her own covert camera to capture the adult, i.e. the parent, being abusive.
Which is pretty cheap nowadays.
Yes, and as a result of that, the adult was arrested, right? So very interesting to see how teens are now keying into this as well to help support their complaint, because a lot of times teens, preteens people blow them off going, oh, I believe the adult, not you. Well, in today's world of digital, right, be it video or audio, there's several ways to confirm that that's exactly what has happened or not happened. Yeah. What else we got going?
Interesting story coming out of the European Union. A couple lawmakers are having thoughts of regulating smartphone chargers and device chargers to basically all use the same port, particularly the USB-C port.
Companies are going to hate this, right?
Sorry, Apple.
They're going to hate this. And I mean, the reason they're doing it makes sense to me, is these companies are, they're so competitive with one another. They want to make sure that their product doesn't work with this product. Like if you buy this product, you have to buy this.
Yeah.
And that. I mean, it's all about a money-making thing.
It's like the iPhone, the good old classic iPhone Lightning connector.
Yeah.
Like when that thing because first you had the 13 pin.
Yes.
And then they switched to the Lightning one. They had to replace all your cables and all your
Unless
adapters.
you had an adapter, right?
And all your dongles to this new version. So interesting. We'll see where this goes. It may go nowhere. I'm assuming the tech industry is going to be against this.
You know what though? If it's gonna happen anywhere, it's gonna happen in Europe. It is amazing how they're really leading the world in holding corporate entities and vendors accountable.
Yeah,
right?
and this will likely, if this is successful, it will trickle down because a company like Apple is not going to make two different iPhones.
No,
right?
No.
So they're going to make an iPhone that's regulatory for whatever country.
Or if that does, what's to stop a company from saying, okay, well, I'll just create an adapter so it fits into whatever it is they say they need to use, right?
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think it'll be the Lightning?
No. They're talking about USB-C.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
USB-C is better than Lightning altogether.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Well,
so that's kind of what we're talking
So
about.
why do you think Apple doesn't use USB-C?
Well, they do in their new products.
In
So
their,
like
what?
my MacBook here is all
But
USB-C.
not their iPhone. How about their iPhones?
Is the 11 Mac, is the newest one iPhone, I think the new iPhone,
The iPhone 11?
iPhone 11 Pro, the top level one, I think that one has a USB-C.
Oh, if anybody knows, send us a message. It'd be interesting to know.
Can't remember. I have to double check that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some cool tech projects.
Yes.
Maybe not a cool one, but certainly something that makes people quiver sometimes. Meet the Xenovox, world's first living self-healing robot created from frog stem cells that's designed to basically go into the human body and for medical purposes.
Oh, so it's kind of like what is it called? Not micro, but what is it called? But it's interesting because
obviously some people are a little hesitant about this technology.
I get it, but it kind of brings me back to a movie. It was called Fantastic Voyage in 1960s, where it was sci-fi, where they took this submarine and they shrunk it into micro level where you can put it into a syringe and then insert it into a body, and then they were going into the brain to remove a bullet that had been installed, and it was the only safe way to do it. So this is
or magic school bus.
Yeah, Magic School Bus. Yeah, that one did too. And what's interesting is that science fiction has now become reality.
Yeah.
Right? When you think about what's on here, right? And I mean, we already know that the medical community is looking at a variety of different ways to use technology to help us from a health standpoint. I don't know about injecting frog stems into your body, though.
That's a robot.
Would I be going around going, a little bit of joke there. Zoomer joke. Anyways, boomer joke. Sorry, not Zoomer. Boomer.
Interesting.
Boomer joke.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll see where the technology goes.
Yeah.
I mean, people are obviously concerned about weaponizing this and all that stuff.
Oh, for
So,
sure. For sure.
We'll see where this goes. Blind man invents
This is
smart
cool.
cane.
This is cool.
That uses Google Maps and sensors to identify surroundings. Basically, this person made a smart cane, and it used ultrasonic sensors to warn about nearby objects with vibrations in the handle.
What's interesting about this one is that there was a high school girl in Toronto a couple years ago who developed kind of the same technology, where she developed this digital cane to help the blind to see, right? I mean, hers was big and bulky and that kind of stuff, but it was the kind of the thought behind it. She won an award for it. But this is probably a better, more up-to-date version of it. But again, using technology to help those who have disabilities to manage in the real world. I mean, that's what's cool about technology. And I think too many people, like I still hear this, Brandon, like technology is bad, technology is bad, technology is bad. But as you say, it's like a digital hammer, right? Yeah, you can use a hammer to destroy things or to cause injury, but you can also use it to build into creativities and thoughts. So again, I mean, this is a really good example how somebody is using technology to make the life of somebody who has a disability better.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's fantastic.
I actually love it. Yeah. What else?
Another interesting tech thing that came out, not last week, but Life of Potterhead, it self-heals injured body parts.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea of it, right?
Yeah, so the Xenobots. So little tiny Xenobots. So yeah, so basically they could be used if something's broken on you or in your body. You could use these to basically fix that part of your body.
Help to heal it.
Or clean your body, or people talking about getting rid of cancer. Because it could go and hunt out cancer.
With little lasers.
Yeah, basically. Maybe not lasers, but basically, yeah.
Lasers.
So it's a very interesting technology, and I think people are naturally very cautious.
So they should be.
I mean, the moment you have something that goes inside your body, I think naturally we all have a little, even me and needles, like old-fashioned needles, I'm a little like,
A little? Well, let's be honest.
Well.
A lot.
Well,
Yeah,
Candace just says I'm a baby.
I'm a baby. She just said, he passes out when I get blood work.
No, I do not.
So true.
I have not done that.
So true.
No,
So
no,
true.
no.
Hey, did you see the guy, again, it was in social media, where he's actually injected himself with technology like RFDs now. So when he goes around, he just puts his hand in front of things. And he's injecting technology.
Biohacking.
And biohacking. Biohacking, that's what it's called. Yeah. Again, I have some issues with that, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Interesting article. Kids with lazy eye being treated with a special screen and glasses to fix that.
Hold on. I thought everybody says that screen time is bad for eyes.
Yeah. But in this case, screen time will fix your eye.
A certain type of screen. But again,
special technology, but yes, it's interesting seeing how this technology is being used to, help
somebody with a disability.
Yeah.
Another good, much like the cane, another good use of technology to help those who have a disability, right? It's not the tech, it's how people use the tech, right? That I think is really important. And I think that this is really cool. Again, people are looking to technology to help deal with issues, to help our lives get better. On the flip side of the coin, can technology be used for evil? Absolutely, no doubt about it. But it is kind of cool to see how technology is now being used to help those with disabilities to make their lives better. Yeah. Right? I totally agree with that. Yeah. So, before we close out here, we have another show coming up, right, after this?
Yes. In about 30 minutes, we're going to go live on Facebook.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a Facebook Live event where we're going to be talking about everything to do with intimate images in teens, or sexting and teens. And we're going to talk about the emotional, social, and the legal issues surrounding sexting from a Canadian perspective. And why are we doing this? Because it's a hot issue right now. There's a lot of disinformation going on about there, a lot of fear mongering in my opinion. So as a result of that, we are going to dedicate a whole show. We're probably going to go more than 30 minutes, but it's primarily designed for teens and adults here in Canada, or sorry, for parents, caregivers, adults, but teens as well. You know, if you're interested in what the law actually says around sexting and some of the issues, please tune into our Facebook page. And our Facebook page is?
thewhitehatter.ca.
thewhitehatter.ca. And we're going to go live with that event at 2 o'clock, so make sure you join us there.
Yes.
Good show.
Yeah.
Hey, did Candace find a lot of that stuff again today?
She did indeed.
Yeah, she did.
We're really looking forward
She's
to
getting pretty good at that, right?
Yeah.
And I know that what people can't see is on the other side of us, we're creating a second set where Candace is going to have a segment in our show, right?
We're working on it.
Yeah, kind of
Work
thing.
in progress.
It's going to be kind of cool, some of the things that we're going to be doing on that. So, yeah, good show today.
Good show. Next show is, again, next week on January 26th. Same time, same place. And because it's the last show of the month, that means it's going to be a giveaway show.
Oh, giveaway show. Well,
So,
hold on. Go back to those fireworks. Like a zombie, right? I love those fireworks.
To enter, the instructions will be posted on Instagram. Basically, it's you comment on a question we ask you.
Yep.
You can put the draw.
Yep.
Gets you stickers, wristbands, pens, and stickers. So definitely a show you don't want to miss because the last show of the month. We're going to sign off now and get ready for our Facebook Live.
Yeah, make sure you guys go over there. I think this Facebook Live event on sexting from a Canadian perspective is extremely important in today's world, right? It really is.
Most certainly. Yeah. So on that note, we're going to get ready. We're going to see you in 30 minutes on Facebook. 3 shows one day. Woo-hoo! Awesome.
So on behalf of myself, Derek,
Brandon, and Candace in the back, thank you everyone for joining us here on the White Hatter YouTube live show, and we'll see you again next time.
We'll see you at 2 o'clock on the Facebook Live event. Sexting, everything you need to know. Bye.